What is your name and where are you from?
My name is Joshua Alexander Wright, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in Oregon, raised here.
So Joshua, you were recently overseas. Where were you?
I was in South Korea.
South Korea?
In Gwangju, South Korea.
Wow, how long were you in Korea for?
I was in Korea for 5 years.
And what were you in Korea for?
I was teaching English as well as doing my dance work. So I'm a dance teacher and choreographer.
Awesome. Now, it's not typical that you hear young people, especially like black males, going to Korea and like living there. So how did you find out about it, or what made you interested in going to Korea?
So when I knew I always wanted to travel abroad, and I didn't know exactly where. I always thought it was going to be Japan, but I applied to a couple of places in Japan, Korea, and China, and it finally came down to the decision, and I ended up picking Korea.
So even with that being said, just a thought, like where did it come from to be, well, with you even wanting to be abroad, where did it come from to say, where did the interest in traveling abroad come from?
So I want to start a youth program that takes children from their normal surroundings and shows them a bigger world, gets their passports quicker, and introduces them to different languages and different cultures. So thus, I need to be outside of the United States to accomplish that goal easily. So that's why the initial want to leave the country was there, because of my goals ahead of time.
Had you been out of the country prior to Korea?
Yes, I had. The Netherlands. I did a show in the Netherlands for about 2 weeks.
Awesome. Did you have any initial concerns about living abroad?
The biggest thing was contact with my family. Like, Korea was 13 hours ahead of Atlanta, so that was the thing. But other than that, I didn't really have many worries nor truly culture shock when I got there.
Awesome. Well, what helped calm some of the maybe the fears that other people have? Because I know if you didn't have any anxiety or concerns about going over there, what were some of the things that maybe your family or your friends had about you being abroad?
Well, it's the normal things. They're worried about food. They're worried about your safety, because you don't know the crime activity there. Korea's super safe. They're just they're worried about things that they see on the news as well. And the best way to calm those things is, once you get there, just keep them updated on what's happening. And let me say, Korean food's great.
So yeah, you answered my next question, was how were those concerns changed upon arrival? And when, like you said, you just keep them updated on your progress. And a lot of times, people are surprised with the things that are available there. It's like,
exactly.
Oh, I didn't know life was outside of the United States.
Right, and it's like this.
How did you cope with the language barrier?
So when I got to Korea, I spoke no Korean. And then because of work, I needed to learn the language. So I started by, really most of my learning was from taxi drivers, to be honest. Because I always had to go back and forth to work or to school or to a meeting, and I was always using a taxi. So the people I met the most were Ajuma and Ajashi, who were driving taxis. And from there, it just kept going. I kept building my conversation base from my friends and co-workers and taxi drivers until I was able to get to some semblance of fluency.
That's wonderful. So you mentioned work and school. Can you tell us more about what the type of work that you were doing and what type of education you were receiving?
So I was doing a lot of subbing for teachers who are on vacation or teachers on maternity leave. I would fill in their sub position for English, as well as I was studying at Cheonamdae National University in the Sakwa division or department.
What is Sakwa?
Sahakwa is Sahak is history and Kwa is the department.
Awesome. What is the culture like?
The Korean culture is there are beautiful parts of the Korean culture as well as parts of any culture that you dislike. But overall, it was a great and enjoyable time. And I would say the biggest thing is hospitality. It really feels like the South. Honestly, it feels like the South. If you ever heard of Southern hospitality in the good way, you'll get it in Korea.
So speaking about culture, and because you were there for maybe just over 5 years,
Yeah.
could you tell me about maybe some of the culture that you've adopted for like your personal lifestyle?
Yes, definitely. Oh man, bowing to people. I bow a lot more when I am speaking to someone. When I affirm that I'm hearing what they're saying, you'll hear a lot of That's very Korean. As well as if I'm ever drinking with friends, if someone pours a glass that's older than me, or someone that I respect, I'll always hold the glass to help them steady it. So there are definitely small mannerisms that I've picked up, but I like them. They make me more gentlemanly.
What kind of social things did you do while you were there? Like when you weren't working or when you weren't going to school, what were some of the things that you got into?
Well, I would go gaming. They have PC bangs there. That was really fun. That was on relaxation time.
Tell me a little bit more about what that means.
So a PC bang is a place with a ton of computers. It's a computer cafe.
Ah, okay.
A ton of computers. You can go with your friends and drink and eat food and play games. It was a great way to relax. Another thing I would do is travel. So whenever I would do a show in Seoul, I would go up maybe a day ahead of time and spend time with friends there. Eat. It was a lot of food tourism. Or go to the beach in Busan. That was really nice and calming as well.
So you said that you were a dance instructor as well. How did you stumble upon that? Maybe even from the States and then moving to Korea, how did you reintroduce or re-engage yourself in a new country, in a new culture? How were you able to attain that?
My first time dancing was when I got to Korea. There was a party, like a welcome party that I had. And I danced there. And then from there, someone found out that I danced and I was offered a position to do a show. And over time, I started looking for studio space. Well, when I found the studio space, the owner of the studio saw me dancing. It was like, can you do that again? So I danced for her again, and she was like, we need a hip-hop teacher. Would you like to be the resident hip-hop teacher? And then I worked there for 3 years. So that's how I got my instruction space. But before then, I also started going to small bars and doing salsa, bachata, and merengue classes at night from like 7 to 9. So I had those two things running, as well as my dance crew that would go around Korea and do like different festivals and different shows.
Now, I remember you said you had like some ridiculous amount of jobs.
Yeah.
How were you able to manage that and go to school, maintain your sanity?
What? I would say focus and planning.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much hard plans as if this doesn't get done by this time, it can't be done. But setting out goals, or like some people call them dream boards. I didn't do a dream board, but I'll always write down notes of things I want to do, or like text them to myself to make sure that I'm staying focused, and a ton of alarms. So many alarms that keep me on time because I try to be punctual.
So another quick question. Why were you working so hard? Was it like for financial reasons? What was the reason that you were, I mean, aside from maybe the dancing, to which you probably enjoyed, but could you tell me a little bit about why it was such like maybe a hustle and bustle for you?
Well, financially, I was supporting myself. I left the country when I was 19. 19 going on 20. I'm 25 now. I left with nothing. So it was just it was a lot of building to like keep myself afloat. And of course I had family help every now and then, but really it was just stay afloat, make sure you have what you're doing, pay your bills, pay your school bills, do all the things. And so the harder I hustled, the more I got to play as well. If I had done just enough work to survive, then it would just be working, sleeping, blah, 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 blah. But a little bit more extra work allowed me to also enjoy the Sundays that I had, or take on extra projects, because if my dancers did a thing, the crew paid for some expenses or anything like that, and the crew is me. So until we got more funds to like reinvest.
Awesome. Would you ever consider moving back?
Yes. Mainly because of the youth program. We have partners in the Netherlands and in Israel and in Atlanta. So we don't have anyone in South America or Central America, nor do we have anyone in Africa or Asia. So I'm doing the two largest far away parts being Asia and South America. I'm doing my market research there. And then I'm looking at doing shows or other benefit projects inside of countries that I'm not stationed.
Well, you led right into the next question, which is what's next? You said a little bit about South America. Can you tell us what is happening next?
So tomorrow at 5, I'll be getting on a plane to go to Peru. I'll be in Lima for about a week, and then Cusco for about 30 days. And then I'll try to get placed back in Lima as a teacher. But in the meantime, other than teaching, I'll be spending most of my time doing market research, seeing how the dance community is, what's needed, looking at high schools and middle schools, seeing if they have youth programs already set up, shadowing those, going to studios, seeing how they work out. So it'll be a lot of business research to see if that's the right place for the studio.
All right, now with that in mind, last question. Being that you were 19 when you first moved abroad solo, now you have been home for a little bit and you're going back on what I would consider your second go around in your next major country. What is something or some things that you're going to do differently in your new placement?
Definitely pack less in the beginning. That is a huge thing. A lot of people get worried about not having enough things. Believe me, you'll have enough, and you'll get off the plane, and you'll not know what to do with it. So I'm packing less, and then I'll come back in the winter, and I'll bring more things once I settle. And that's really good for if you plan on settling in a place. Vacation, pack what you need, but if you're going to settle, take exactly what you need so you have smaller things to use, which I have while we settling. Something else is I'm doing the same thing that I did with Korean for Spanish, which I think will make Spanish a little bit easier for me. So learn the language real quick. And I started networking 7 months ahead of time, like 8 months ahead of time. Once I knew I was going to Peru, I already seated myself with getting meetings at studios and just like trying to get an anchor point inside of a small community, know a couple people. So when I get there, I can hit the ground running.
All right, I need you to do me a favor. Can you please look into the camera, encourage youth, adults, people who just want something different as to why living abroad is an option, and then also after that, if you can just tell us how we can keep in contact or follow you on this new adventure.
Perfect. Well, as I said, my name is Joshua Alexander Wright. I go by Jaws, and my advice to you is, first of all, don't be afraid. This world is a lot larger than you think, but it's a lot safer than you think, and it's way more beautiful than you think as well. So if you have the passion or if you have the want to do it, go out and do it. Find a way. Be a server, be a teacher. There's like farm jobs, there's volunteer jobs, there's animal jobs, orphanage jobs. There's so many different ways to get out of the country and do something you love, and do something that's positive. All you have to do is do it. And when you get there, stay focused. Once you get there, have a plan to do one good big thing, and then make it there. And then come back or move on to your next adventure. The best way to follow me would be if you search "But I'm Not a Shark" on Google or Instagram, Facebook, or any platform really, you'll find me. It was wonderful to talk to you. Thank you, sis.
Thank you.